Nation's top intelligence official set to testify today on the annual Global Threat Assessment Report. Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines' testimony comes during growing concerns over the nuclear capabilities by unfriendly countries. Let's dig into this more with North Dakota Republican Senator Kevin Cramer. Good morning to you, Senator. Thank you so much for being with us today. I know Defense Department officials have been saying earlier this year, Iran can now produce a nuclear bomb in less than 2 weeks. The UN reporting that Iran has enough enriched uranium to build several weapons. And a nuclear watchdog group says the Islamic Republic is enriching uranium to near weapons grade levels. So all of that being said, can the U.S. do anything about it?
Yeah, well, great question. I think one of the things we can do about it is we need to demonstrate leadership. We need to demonstrate strength and be leading from a position of strength rather than a position of weakness. And that's why what's going on in Ukraine is so relevant. It's why, New START treaty with Russia being extended is important, because they need to see that there is an order to things, all things nuclear. But we also need to keep, obviously, a very close eye on it. We in close contact, obviously, with our strongest ally in the region, who has the most to lose by a strengthened Iran, that, of course, being Israel. So it's all hands on deck. But we also have to be prepared for multiple, potential conflicts throughout our globe, and I worry that we're not quite prepared for that.
Well, and I think that you and other lawmakers on the same position point as you have said that we need to make sure that we lead from a position of strength and not appeasement. Is this administration capable of doing that?
Yeah, so important question. I think they're certainly capable of it. Remember that Joe Biden served in the Senate for a long, long time. He's been involved in all of this stuff for many decades, and he's been flexible, shall we say, over time. He seems, though, in this time of need, when we need a strong leader at the very top, he seems to be weaker than he ever was when he was in the United States Senate. So I think they're capable of it. If a crisis is looming, hopefully they'll lean on their some of their friends, even in their own party, as well as Republicans, who feel the same way I feel. There are a lot of Democrats who feel the same way that I feel and that a lot of us feel. I just think in some cases, Adrian, they don't know how to reflect this strength of ours, and I worry a lot about it. Their eye is off the ball. You look at the way they focused on lots of things in the military that are far, far from actual military readiness, focusing more on social issues and experimentation and wokeness, and that's no way to be prepared to fight wars if wars are necessary. But the most important thing is to prevent a war and to deter a war, and the way you do that is step up the game. Remember, his budget, this president's budget for this new year, this next year, has a reduction when put up against inflation of defense spending. We absolutely can't do that. So as we negotiate this now, as we head down toward a markup on the National Defense Authorization Act, I think you're going to see Republicans and Democrats alike in the Congress adding, once again, a lot of money to the defense budget out of necessity. And yeah,
adding money, but we've added a lot of money to Ukraine. We've given billions and billions of dollars. Is that why there's been such a bipartisan push to support Ukraine, because of the fears that Russia, which has the largest nuclear weapon stockpile, Moscow suspending its latest nuclear arms treaty with the U.S. Is that what we're doing? Are we giving money to Ukraine because there are so many fears that Russia could be the one to prompt nuclear war?
Well, Ukraine is a very good example of a projection of weakness that needs to become more a projection of strength. Now, thank goodness for the Ukrainians themselves and the generosity of the United States. But even with $133 billion, which has been authorized for Ukraine, most of it, or at least 40% of it, being spent here in the United States to build up our own reserves as well as our own industrial base, it sends a message to the #1 nuclear adversary, Russia, that we're serious. And of course, everybody else is watching that. They're watching that in Iran. They're watching that in China. They're watching how we behave with Ukraine and Russia. I'd like to see the administration step it up. It's not so much about more money, however, as much as responding more quickly to more sophisticated weapon systems, particularly air defense systems. The Ukrainians have demonstrated that they're not only willing but very capable of fighting for their own freedom.
Right.
So I think it's a small investment in Ukraine that could actually help detour bigger conflicts around the world.
Well, we'll see if that's true. I don't know that all the American people agree with that, but how big of a nuclear threat is Beijing?
Yeah, well, they're a threat and a growing threat. I think their potential is far greater than their capacity right now. As we know, they have more ICBM sites than we have. They have more capability to launch than we have. They've certainly advanced in hypersonic missiles, the various types of weapon systems that can carry nuclear warheads. They're growing their Navy at a breakneck pace while we're reducing ours. Again, another
and I think that's the biggest
mistake.
issue, is that we're reducing the spending to protect our own country while we're investing in protecting others. And that has a lot of Americans on edge. Senator Kevin Cramer, I apologize, we're out of time, but we really appreciate you joining us. Thank you.